just when you see Dr. Lamb, just let me know, Dr. Revis, if you happen to see him.
Okay.
We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm sure that others will be joining us. It's a small group so far, but others will be joining us shortly. Excuse me. We wanted to, first of all, welcome. A lot of work has come in. Many of you have completed your work for the APTEL very successfully. Congratulations, on a job well done. Again, I know that, your ultimate goal is that you want a 4. 4s are hard to get. But it doesn't mean that you didn't do a great job, no matter what. So I just want to say congratulations, on jobs well done. Did want to remind you as you see the screen that that unless there is circumstances beyond your control and you've reached out to Dr. Revis and me, everything for the APTEL is due by this Sunday evening, which I don't perceive a problem with that, Dr. Revis. Like I said, most of them are at a place, if they haven't done it, they're at a place where we're going to tell them, it's time to submit. Just follow the same process. And if you have any questions at all, just reach out to Dr. Revis and me about that. So just wanted to let you know, go back and do I would do a self review, a self-check in Blackboard. Check your grades to make sure that you've got a grade for, if there's something there, you should have a grade in it. And if you don't, that means that you haven't submitted something. So just make sure that all your everything has been submitted so you can get your points. Because Dr. Revis, probably at some point next week, you and I will begin having to submit grades to Gardner-Webb for this semester. So if you have any questions at all, just touch base with us about that. What we do want to talk about very briefly before Dr. Lamb takes over this evening is we want to talk about Taskstream. And I sent out a message. It was yesterday afternoon or this morning. I can't remember. But anyway, just reminding you to make sure that you have completed your School of Ed disposition. Most of you have done that. It's an easy process. It's a self-assessment. And then if we've cleared you with task 4 of the APTEL, that means that you can go ahead and do the competency analysis in Taskstream as well, which is an easy process as well. It's another self-analysis. There's no narrative work in there. It's just, clicking on the bullets and assessing yourself with those. So if you have any questions, get with Dr. Revis and me about that. But we did want to talk with you about the requirements for your competency folio and the requirements for your internship log. So Dr. Revis, if you would just speak briefly at this point about the competency folio.
Well, first of all, Dr. Stephen, I have been reading some really, really good work that your students have submitted, and not that my students are not submitting that quality work to you, I'm sure.
Well, right, and I just let me brag on Ruth. Ruth sent hers in today. I read Ruth's, and Ruth was some of the best. Overall, she had everything completed. It was the best format, some of the best work that I've had. So I just want to say congratulations, Ruth.
And we call her DeShera, so there you go. She really has done a good job in this program, has grown a lot. I've seen a lot of growth. But just very quickly, guys, you're not writing a long narrative for these things. I don't want to read it, and I'm sure you don't want to write it. All you have to do is tell me what the artifact is and how it connects to the competency, how it aligns to the competency. That's it. You don't have to go into a paragraph, 2 or 3 sentences.
Dr. Revis, while you're talking, I want to point to them. I'm in Blackboard. I'm going to video library. Just as a reminder. And then there's a competency folio example. And then go ahead, Dr. Revis. I just want this is the example that we've given you that you can follow.
Right.
And I'll pull up communication.
Right. And when he pulls up communication, I want you to look right there, the first sentence, one of these three, APSL, PSYOP, and open-ended. Now, we don't get real hung up on that, to be honest, but guys, you've done the APSL. Don't create more work for yourself. You've already got artifacts from your APSL that would suffice for this. So I'm getting a lot of you reflecting on your internship experiences, and that's fine. Those are called open-ended. But I think you need to be smart and in your work, and you've already got all kinds of artifacts for the APSL and APTL.
And here it is. Here it is right here. This file attachment.
And it's your communication that you either had with your principal, getting permission to do the PLC. This one happens to be the minutes from a PLC that she sent out.
Several things, yeah.
Yeah, just, you've already got this stuff. Don't try to recreate it. Now, if you get down to one that says, select one from the PSYOP and SKIP and open-ended, well, you've not done PSYOP and SKIP. You go to your open-ended. And let me just say this, you guys have been workhorses in your schools, because you have been invaluable to your principals in creating all kinds of documents and processes and troubleshoot technology. You've really stepped up to the plate with what I've been reading through your folio experiences. So I just want to say, my goodness, I don't know how you've done it all, plus outstanding coursework.
I agree, and it's been a tough semester for all of them because of everything they've had to deal with, and we recognize that. Just remember, there's 21 competencies. All 21 have to be addressed, from communication all the way down to visionary. Again, look at digital learning competencies there, and there's information in there about it. But remember, there's not anything that you do there. They're already built into 18 of the competencies that you're going to be addressing. You just have to show digital learning. Just like it says right here, it may be open-ended, but it's also can be digital learning. So where there's digital learning, you just identify it, with what you're doing. The digital learning is automatically built in to at least 18 of those competencies that you're going to be working with. So just remember, and artifacts are things. You must provide a thing, something, for all 21 of these competencies. You've already done the narrative work. The narrative work was when you did the 12 for the APSL and the 9 for the APTEL. That's the narrative part of it. Now you're showing us proof of it. You talked about it. We want to see the proof, and that's what you're doing there. And then just your internship log as well. And remember, these are submitted for our review and comments, not for evaluation. And the internship log as well is submitted for our review and for our comments as well. So if you have any questions,
guys, when you request comments, it generates an email to us. You don't have to email us and tell us we've got it or you've done it. It will generate an email. Now, if you don't hear something from us about feedback on it in 2 or 3 days, you need to let us know. But typically, it generates that automated email to us that tells us we need to go in and we have some work to review.
Okay. I'm just go ahead while I'm looking. There's Dr. Lamb. Dr. Lamb, you with us?
Yes, he is.
I am with you.
Okay, I am going to make you the host, and everything. Well, you already know. Once you get the host, everything is under week 14 that you would need. You can just keep that up there unless you've got something that. Well, no, that's not it. I'm sorry. Let me come out of that. And I'll stop sharing and then let you. let you pull your stuff up.
All right.
But
All right. So
they already know that look at him, he's Santa Claus. Um, um, again, this is a special treat. Dr. Lamb's going to go ahead and give you a head start on what you will be doing next semester. And most of you will, but if you work smart, and you need to work smart, you're going to go ahead and begin, because you're at a place where you can. Dr. Lamb, the majority of them, if they haven't finished, they're almost finished, and they'll be, by the end of this week, they will be clear. And so they've got time that they can get ready for next semester, and it's a lot of work, and so they can get some things done. So here's Dr. Lamb.
all right. I'm going to share my screen and go over the class shell and kind of talk you through that. And then we'll look specifically at the two evidences that will be due. Your shell, I've sent the weekly schedule. It's in the inbox of both your instructor this semester and your instructor next semester. Your shell will be available on Monday, January the 4th in Blackboard, and we will start class Monday, January the 11th. If you're in my class, we go on Wednesdays, and of course now that date is dependent upon which of the instructors that you have. And so this is the way that goes. Let me switch over to this. I just sent this out. So if you're in C2, you'll have Dr. Karen Sumner. If you're in C4, you'll have Dr. Jackie Tobias. If you're in C6, you will have Dr. Sarah Whitaker. If you're in C8, you'll have Dr. Rachel Zantz. If you're in C10, you'll have Dr. Doug Massengill. And if you're in C12, you drew the short straw, you'll have me. And so that is the way that will go. For next semester, your weekly schedule will look like this. Each week, we have the week. It starts on Monday, work's due on Sunday. We go Monday to Sunday. I meet on Wednesdays. We have the topics, we have the reading that goes along with that, and then you have a weekly activity assignment in the discussion board. Now, these assignments are not read a chapter, write a paper kind of thing. They are located copies of your emergency plans. Read school law and assess the plan based on what you learned in school law, but you got to find your school's emergency plan. Find your district field trip policy. You've got to assess it, and then you've given a scenario. Observe student due process in a school and report. That's a disciplinary interview. Interview your AP or other school disciplinarian. Examine a school or district policy on cyberbullying. Attend an IEP meeting and interview the chair of your school intervention team. Interview an administrator at your school about HR practices. Interview an administrator in HR about employee assistance, compensation plan, and benefits. Conduct facilities walkthrough using the provided checklist. Interview a school administrator at your school about fundraising. List the 5 most important steps in the school budgeting process after having interviewed a school administrator. Locate copies of your school budget. Does it have all 4 sources of funds? Then you've got a hypothetical case that goes there, and then examine your district's policy on harassment. So these are more coming and going to and froing kind of things that you'll be doing next semester. That gets you out in the building, or at least if you're not in the building online, gets you talking with administrators. Please remember, this semester you have focused solely on instruction and staff development, the support of instruction. We're changing gears next semester. We're not doing instruction. What we're doing next semester is management of the school. We're doing strategic leadership, managerial leadership. Now, it has to support instruction. I'll teach you about the triangle, where your school budget and your master schedule have to support your school improvement plan, which is your academic initiatives. But you've learned about those things this semester. Now we're going to work on budget and master schedule next semester. That's what we're going to focus most of our energy on, is budget and master schedule, law, discipline, exceptional children, all your federal programs that feed into your master schedule, your supervision schedule, and your duty roster. I tell students all the time, I can't keep you from getting sued. You will get sued. My job is to make sure you win, so you don't lose your house. Because since '92 in the state of North and South Carolina, there is tort liability. They can sue you for your personal stuff as well. So that's the whole notion here. So this is what your weekly schedule will look like. We only meet once a week in 603. There's too much stuff to meet twice a week, because not only you got all these activities, 2 evidences, oh, by the way, you got 4 legal case studies you got to do. And those are bears. You have to, your team have to put those together. Those legal case studies are bears. They are much more involved and in-depth and much more time-consuming than what you have done previously. So we don't have time to meet on Tuesday and Thursday. We meet one time on Wednesday. If you need assistance with your evidence work, your OMA or your SCIP, you work individually with your coach. You put your work in your class shell for review, and if your instructor says it's good, you just keep on going. And then if not, they will send you to your coach for assistance. So your coach will not work with everybody. It will be a true coaching model. And now I have students say, well, but if I had more time and more help, I could do better. Lord, we could all do better if we had more time and more help, especially me. But the whole notion here is you have an infinite amount, you have a finite amount of time. Time is not infinite as a school administrator. You got to do the best you can do with the time that you've got. Now you're gonna have to. I'm just gonna tell you now. You're gonna have to pick it up and run next semester. It is brutal. It is a death march. I'll tell you now. No apologies. You got all those activities to do. You've got 2 very big evidences to do. You've got 4 very involved case studies. It is the monster. So we can't be coming online every few minutes or doing extra sessions. This is to protect you. If you need help with your evidences, we have a coach that'll work with you one-on-one in their shell. Otherwise, we're just going to keep going. You know, again, we could all do better if we had more time, but you got this much time, and so that you got other things that you got to do. And so our focus will not just be on evidences like it was this semester. We're going to add all these activities plus case studies that go along with the content. So that's what it looks like. That's an overview. That's an overview of the weekly schedule. Again, the course shell has all these things in it. It has your discussion board that has all these things I just read to you with all of your weekly activities in it. It has Dropbox for review for your OMA and your SCIP. You can see that. This is where you'll put your work. You will not go to your coach unless your instructor tells you to. You have 2 evidences, the OMA and the SCIP. The OMA, you do get a template, but it's only, all it has on it is the directions. This is it. It just tells you what the directions are, the task and the prompt. It has no hints or clues or any of that stuff. You don't even get one for the SCIP. You have to make your own. Remember, gradual release. Now, Dr. Mark Robertson has, you can thank him. He has made you a little outline guide. And if I stay in a good mood, I'll leave it. If I'm not in a good mood, I'll take it out before next semester. That would give you some hints and tips. But that's it. You got an example, and you got an example of task 1 to get you started. Again, gradual release. You got to accept more responsibility yourself. And so these are the materials that are in there, your discussion boards, peer reviewing. Now we're going to cut back on peer reviews. You only have to you do no video peer reviews. You're going to do that. Your video work is going to be collaboration on your case studies. So you don't have to do a video peer review. You've already learned that skill. We move on to a new skill, which is collaborating virtually to create content. Not just look at one another and say, I think this and I think that. The whole notion of case studies is to collaborate virtually, but in order to create content, a thing, an artifact, a PowerPoint, a Google Doc. So you'll be doing your virtual work on case studies. No virtual peer reviews, and you'll only do one written review of the of the first 3 tasks of the OMA and the skip. So you'll only have 6 peer reviews total for the whole semester. Again, if we add things, we have to take something else out. We will not be doing 2 of our teammates every time. You've got 8 tasks. We only review the first 3. We don't review the 4th task because that's where you do your competency analysis. No need to review that. So you only will do 1 of your teammates for their 3 tasks in the OMA and the skip. So you'll only have 6 peer reviews total, no video reviews. So that's the peer review schedule for next semester. And then each week you have content that goes along with what you're doing that week. Here's your content. Each week you have content you need to cover before class that goes along with what our module is that week. These, sometimes they're documents, sometimes they're PowerPoints. Sometimes this one is, this is 115C288, the state statute, the role of the principals. What that one is, I'll bet, without even having to look at it. Let's open it up and see what it says. 115C288, man. There's only 545 state statutes in North Carolina. You should be able to remember all of those pretty quickly. It'll be helpful if you memorize them all. You won't have to go back and look them up as much. But if you can, there's 8 or 10 that we'll work with mostly. In South Carolina, they're called titles. But we'll be working with these. Since this is a law course, everything has to have a legal underpinning. You'll learn those things as we go. So each of your sessions has content. Here are your case studies. The case studies are very involved. We'll have Leandro on finance, which is a national case from North Carolina that Dr. Stebbin and I were both a part of a long time ago. I was actually on the legal team. We lost. I'll just tell you up front, we lost. But that's another story for another day.
But we won.
Do what?
You lost, but we won. I won.
Don't be ugly now.
Oh, it's the truth.
No, I was on the side of the Angels in that one. We lost, but, you know, we did not get the flat grant funding changed for North Carolina, which is what we wanted. The Law Center there at Chapel Hill, that's what we were looking to do. We didn't really have a dog in the fight on the rich and the poor. What we were trying to do was influence the actual funding formula, which did not unfortunately change. We did not go district power equalizing with a recapture provision as we had hoped, but we did get some additional support. And you'll learn the story of the North and South Carolina education lotteries. That's how we got those. Is out of the Leandro case. You'll learn that story as well.
You know what, Dr. Lamb, we benefited financially from it for many, many years. But you know, at the end of all of it,
yeah,
it didn't change anything at the end of it. The money still didn't make the difference.
No, it didn't change a thing. What we were hoping to do was change the formula, which in effect had an opportunity to make a change. But we knew, when I say we lost, we knew when the judge ruled that the formula would stay the same, that it would not be need based. There would be no power equalizing between rich and poor. We knew then that it would not make a difference, that you just giving a little extra money for capital projects would not make a difference, and it hasn't, unfortunately. But that's why I said we lost. But we'll get into that one pretty deeply next semester. We'll hit all the big cases. We'll hit the Swan case on busing. We'll hit a lot of those. Our 4 case studies center around funding. One centers around LGBTQ, one centers around inclusion in EC, and one centers around grades and privilege. And so those will be our 4 big case studies. and they are a lot more in depth than I just led you to believe. But you will enjoy them. We'll have a good time. Those nights when we come on, you get to do your presentation. You get to argue. Sometimes it's good not to be in the same room. I used to get people kind of riled up. So, but we won't do that online. We'll be ladies and gentlemen. But we'll have a good time if nothing else. This is not because I teach it, but this is a fan favorite. People tend to love this course. I got an email this morning. I'll share this with you. And we'll give a little shout out to, let me go back to my inbox here.
And Dr. Lamb, before you leave, go to one of my course shells and go to week 14, and they can see that they have some 603 materials that are there that they can go ahead and get started with.
I'll do that if I can get my email to work. All right, so I got this morning. Share this. Dr. Talent shared this with me this morning. This is from Debbie Parrish, who's in 603 now. She said, Dr. Talent, thank you so much for taking time to let me know this. This has been my favorite semester so far. You're a wonderful professor and taught me so much. This is the kind of thing we get every week from in 603. Folks just love this course. It's the most interesting. You learn why your things happen in your school that you always wondered why they did this and didn't do that. It's kind of like every week's another eye opener in this course. I mean, the students are riveted to their seats. They just love this. And they tell us, this is the highlight of my week. I just can't wait every week to get to class. And so you will enjoy the content. It's relevant. It's real. It is very interesting if you're in the profession. There will not be a dull moment, and so you will enjoy this course. All right, so let me get to the two evidences that we'll be doing, and I'll kind of give you. I'm looking at my time here. All right, so the OMA is the first one, organizational management analysis. Same Zoom teams, yes. We don't change anything. You got to figure that out for yourselves. If you got to find new ones, again, gradual release. We don't get into that, the administrative. Your teams will stay the same. You work. You've got a rhythm how you work. You keep going. If you need us to get involved, we will. But it's just kind of like when, as a teacher, when you take kids to the office for discipline, you don't get to say what happens. If you turn them over to me, then it's my choice. Well, after that, you're out of it. So if you're having a problem with your teams and you turn it over to me, whatever I decide, that's what you get. So I believe I'd fix that on my own if I had team trouble.
Dr. Lamb, there's a couple where there's only 2 students in a team. Those will be adjusted because they need more than 2 people in teams.
They'll put those 2 together.
Do what?
If there's 2 teams with 2, we'll just put those together to make. You still work with your same people. You'll be a team of 4 now.
Just some minor adjustments, if any.
Yeah, we'll put teams with 2. If you have a team with 2, we'll put you with another team of 2, or a team with 3. We need more than. There's too much work to do on case studies to do them as 2 people.
Right.
That's just too much. And so you'll be in a team of 4 or 5 if you're in a team of 2 now. That's the only thing that will change. So your team won't change. You just get some new team members. Let me go back here. Yeah. So, all right. So OMA, organizational management analysis. Let me get started with this one. Let me close that. Okay, here we go. I gotta close my chat so I can see this. All right, so
I wanted to remind the students too that this night was not necessarily planned, but because they were so far ahead of the game, I did not want them to lose time if they had an opportunity to begin working on things. So that's why Dr. Lamb's with us tonight, because we wanted to give you an ups on things because of where you were with your work. So.
Okay. All right. I tell students every semester, The goal of the OMA is not to build a master schedule, a duty roster, and a supervision schedule. The goal of the OMA is to build a legal master schedule, a legal duty roster, and a legal supervision schedule. They have to be legal. Those are the three documents that we're most interested in that you're able to create as a result of performing the OMA. And so for those of you who don't know, a master schedule is who teaches what, where, and when. You've seen graphic representation, first period, you know, Joel teaches this and I teach that. And, you know, everybody's daily schedule as an instructor, that's the master teaching schedule. Now, whoever makes the master schedule is running your school. If it's the secretary, then the secretary runs the school. If it's the guidance counselor, then the guidance counselor runs the school. You need to know that if you're the principal, you need to be making that master schedule, and there's a process on how we make it. Federal law comes first, state law comes second, local board policy third, EVOS best practices fourth, and teacher input comes fifth. Don't get it twisted ever. It always goes in that order, always. There's never, let me say that again, there's never an exception to that rule. It always goes in that order. Make that mistake and lose your house. Federal law always comes first. It supersedes all other. Then state law, then board policy, then EVOS best practices, and then and only then teacher input comes fifth. That's the way it works. And so we're going to put together a master schedule. A duty roster is who covers what during the day, who's on bus duty, who's on car rider duty, who's on lunchroom duty, who's on hall duty. Is there 45 or is there one adult for every 45 students in a group activity like the lunchroom or on the bus lot or in the gym? If there's not, now I'm not going to tell you that if you've got 10 teachers and 400 kids in the cafeteria that that's going to stop a fight. What I'm going to tell you is it's going to stop you from losing your house in court when they sue you for negligence, that you didn't have adequate supervision because you had a ratio of 40 to 1. The legal accepted limit is 45. Now, if you only had 4 teachers in there with 400 students, you would lose your house. You'd lose your job. You'd get a financial settlement against you. Those are the kinds of things on putting together your duty roster. Supervision schedule is after school. Now, don't be that dumb person that becomes homeless because they think that their liability ends when the bell rings. You need supervision at all after school activities and all, you know, if students are waiting on campus for a bus or cars and there's a group of them out front and you don't have anybody supervising them and one of them gets hurt, that'd be on you. That would be on you. You got a ball game and you don't have enough people there to take up tickets at the booth because you got to do reconciliation. You got to sell tickets and you got people in the ticket booth instead of supervising and something jumps off and happens, you know, that would be on you. So, you know, doing something dumb like putting a sign-up sheet for ball games in the teacher's lounge or in the mail room, that kind of thing will get you out of the business really quickly. These are things that you have to take control over, your master schedule, your supervision schedule, and your duty roster. And we're going to teach you how to do that through the OMA. So the first thing that you will do is you will analyze your school context. You'll start with your school profile. We want to know everything about your school, internally and externally. Internal means your state report card and TWC. We want to know everything about, you know, your teachers, your academic achievement, your suspensions, your discipline, all that kind of stuff. That's your internal context. You know, everything that's in your teacher handbook, your faculty handbook. We want to know all that stuff. All your schedules, routines, master schedule. We want the current master schedule, current duty rosters, current supervision schedule. We want everything that's in the faculty handbook about your school. And then we want the external context as well. We want stuff from your SACS report or your advanced ed, which is now called Cognia. We want that opening section, just like your school profile that you did for the AppSell and the AppTel. You know, we're located in this community. The average income is this much. Education is that much. We want internal and external context so that we'll know what kind of school you got. That plays a major role in those in duty roster, supervision schedule, and master schedule. And then you're going to look at all of your federal programs for exceptional learners. Now, that does not mean EC. Special needs population, exceptional learners, diversity, that is all your federal programs. That would be exceptional children. That'd be EC department, your intervention team, your Title I, your English as second language, your academic gifted, and your CTE program, if you've got one, career and technical. You got to do an audit of all those. And an audit's real simple. This is what we got. This is the programs that we have. This is what the students are supposed to get, and this is what they get. So it's really quick and dirty. We've got an exceptional children's program. They're supposed to get services in the classroom in the inclusion model. This is what we give them. This is the schedule that delivers that. You know, what have you got? You know, what programs do you have? What are they supposed to get by law, by federal law? What's federal law say they're supposed to get? And then what are we doing to meet that federal law? Intervention team, EC 504, Title I, exceptional gifted, second language, CTE, all those programs. You got to do an audit of all of those programs. And then you got to do a quick audit of your budget procedure. And what we want to know is, what role does your school improvement team have in setting the budget for that school? Because we know what document does the school improvement team produce yearly? What document does the school improvement team produce yearly?
The SIP.
The school improvement plan. And we know if they don't have a say-so in that budget, then guess what happens? Do you think the school improvement plan will get funded? It will not. So we need to know what's your process. Does your school improvement plan have a seat at the table on the local school budget to assure that the school improvement plan gets funded? We've got to set up our classes, our master schedule, and our budget to support at the top that school improvement plan, those academic initiatives. Without either one of those at the bottom, then the whole thing is come crashing down. We can put money into our initiatives, but if we don't design a schedule, if math is our priority and we don't make it a priority in our schedule, put our best teachers or put more time in math teaching, then we won't see any improvement in math. Conversely, we can make a schedule that's math friendly, but if we don't put any money behind it, we don't fund anything, we don't buy the computers or the calculators or whatever we said we were going to do, then it won't happen. So that's task 1 of the OMA. We're getting the context of our school. In task 2, this is my gift to you. All you have to do in task 2 is take your app cell, your AppTel, excuse me, I'm having a senior moment. Take your AppTel, take all the headings off of it, task 1 through 3, copy and paste 1 through 3, take all the AppTel labels off of it, you submit it for task 2 of the OMA. This is how we catch up by our time. It's going to take you 2 weeks to do task 1. The way we make the time back up is task 2 is a copy and paste. You remember, we would not let you pick a most pressing need that was not academic, or that your professional development plan had to be academic in nature. If you read this is exactly what you did. So task 2 of the OMA is a simple copy and paste, first 3 tasks of the AppTel, all the way down through your professional development plan. Take the task and prompt labels and the AppTel labels off of it, and 15 minutes you're done with task 2. Then in 3, all of a sudden you're going to have to go back to work again. This one's going to take you a couple weeks as well. You have to assess the current scheduling procedures and strengths. Now, it didn't say assess the current schedule. It said assess the procedure. Did you start with federal law, then state law, board policy? Did you then look at your EVOS, what EVOS tells you about who should be teaching what, and then did we go to teacher input? We're going to look at that. Now, the worst thing you can do is if you get a bad master schedule is just start monkeying with it, because the half that are happy will now be mad. So now everybody be mad at you. If you get a bad schedule, it's because you had a bad process. I don't know why folks can't understand that. They run the same process every year, and everybody in the building's mad and unhappy with the schedule. Well, how about changing the process? You got to align it with your school improvement team findings. Again, what we just talked about. School improvement team says, well, we got to work on math. That better be reflected in your assessment of your master schedule. Alignment with legal requirements, collaboration, planning, instruction, that's state law. State law is going to speak to minutes of instruction, starting time, number of days, planning time, duty-free time, all those things. State sets all that stuff aside. Alignments for needs of diverse and exceptional populations, that's your federal law. And utilization of findings for a basis, you revise your current schedule. You write a new draft of the current schedule, or a part, you can just revise the old one. You don't have to build a whole new one. You can revise. We want to revise master schedule with the rationale of why you changed what you did. What's wrong with the one you got? You can present it to your administration. Now, if you think they might not appreciate that, then you don't have to. Don't poke the bear if you don't need to, needlessly. But we don't expect you for them to adopt it. But we do expect the right way to do it and what the outcome would be. And then you write your competencies in task 4. So here's your rubric. All your materials are in there ready to go. Everything that you need. It's going to take you a while to collect up all the stuff that you need for task 1. That, I'll have students who will come to me and say, my task 1 is 60 pages long. And I said, boy, you did pretty good then if it's only 60 pages long. But again, task 2, you get a complete pass. Copy paste 15 minutes on task 2. So you get 2 weeks to do task 1, then you just breeze right through task 2. You get to task 3 again, we give you a little extra time. Boom, you're done with it. Task 4, write your competencies quick and easy. And you should, by the system, the language, how it works. You'll be able to work through this. You should be able to get through the OMA comfortably in 5 weeks. So you'll start the second week. So, at the end of 6 weeks, you'll be there. And then at the end of 6 more, you'll have that. So you should be able to knock this out in 12 weeks. We've got 15 weeks, and we got 17 counting the 2 weeks that we're off and 15 weeks of class. You should be fine. Now, I know we're trying to do this in 12 weeks because we got 4 weeks, the weeks before our case studies, that you're not going to have time to do this and case studies. So if we take 12 weeks to do our evidences and 4 weeks, that gives us an extra week, and you've got 2 extra weeks in there of vacation time. So we ought to be able to knock this out. Our 4 big case studies and our 2 big evidences represent 12 plus 4 is 16 weeks of work. We got 17 weeks to do that. Got a couple extra weeks off. We should be fine. Remember, you're not going to be spending a lot of time on peer review. Your collaborative Zoom time is going to be doing your case studies. Now, you'll get better at them as you go as well. Usually that first case study, you're on 2 or 3 times that week, getting ready for that one. But after that, you kind of, if your teams are high functioning, after that first case study, after that, you ought to be able to knock it out in a time or 2 online. If you're high functioning. Now, if you're not, if it's hit and drag Bob, I can't help you on that. That's an old golf joke. All right. Questions you have for me? You can unmute yourself, or you can go to.
Don't forget to show them. Don't forget to show them week 14.
You have to do that. I don't have access to that.
Okay.
That's why I came out, so you could come back in and show them that.
Okay, let me do that. Let me see if that's going to, give me 1 second. Go ahead and ask Dr. Lamb any questions while I'm finding it.
Dr. Lamb?
Oh, I need to, am I still in or you're in? There you go. Go to Blackboard.
No,
Yes,
I'm getting it.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
That's awesome. What about the textbooks? How would we be available? Will they be available for us before January 4th to purchase them?
I've already ordered them. They're in the book. They're in the bookstore.
Okay, go ahead and get that. Okay.
And I'm going to
And that should be in the shell that he's showing you now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I have already ordered the books. I ordered them actually last month, so that they would be ready for you. There's only 2.
Okay, when you go to week 14, you click on that. You just scroll down. Dr. Lamb, I'll let you take it from there.
There they are, right there. The textbooks are the Principal's Guide to School Law. Now, it's rather expensive, but you'll keep it forever. You need that, and Resource Management for School Administrators. I have ordered them. They should be available in the Gardner Webb bookstore. And then we have 4 case studies, discussion board activities, the things that I've already covered, weekly discussion board. I have emailed to your instructor tonight the new weekly schedule. It also has the weekly discussion board activities on it. You have the task and prompt, the example, all these things I covered tonight. The case studies, we won't get into. I mentioned each of those again. One's on grades and privilege. The other one's LGBTQ. One's on exceptional children inclusion, and the other one is on school finance, Leandro case. Now, we won't get any deeper into them tonight. I would
click on this, Dr. Lamb. This is your weekly discussion board activities.
Yeah, the one that I read to them to start with.
Yeah,
It's on.
yeah.
It's on the
You've
weekly
got every
schedule.
one of these, and if you know, honestly, you need to look through this and go ahead and start gathering information and get some of this stuff done. It will help you tremendously.
Now these are grouped together in groups. I have them scattered out through the entire length of the course, but this just puts them together in an area. You need to read through these. Dr. Stedman, if you would, I have shared this with all the 601. If you will put this coming spring's weekly schedule in under week 14 so they can access it, they can see the order that these they'll be called upon to do these. I worked on that and fixed it today.
I will do that. And
yeah, I sent it to you just a few minutes ago. So
I can go ahead and put it under there.
Yes.
Okay, you'll have that as well tonight.
Yeah, which has all of that's the 6 different modules that we do. Those are the activities. Now we scatter those over 19 weeks, or excuse me, 17 weeks. We scatter them over 17 weeks. So you need to look at the order in which you will have to do those things.
Dr. Lamb?
Yes.
I don't know if anyone else is in this boat, but I am at a strictly virtual school. So we have no school crisis plan or anything. So would you just work with another school principal to get one from the district?
Sure.
Okay. And
your
then
district has a crisis plan.
Okay, so just users. And then for when we interview an AP for the disciplinary issues, again, we don't really have any disciplinary issues at the virtual school. So when I interview them, just write it though in terms of if we were in a real physical building.
I mean, what they're going to tell you is their biggest concern is carrying out due processes on the procedural part, is trying to treat everybody equitably and not get hit with a arbitrary or capricious complaint. You know, arbitrary being that they, Dr. Stedman and I got caught out behind the barn smoking. You told Dr. Stedman to go back to class. You just shot me. That would be arbitrary. And it would also be capricious in that probably shooting me is probably too much punishment for smoking behind the bar. And so that's an example of arbitrary and capricious. And so that's what you get hit with on discipline, is due process. You get a complaint, either you were arbitrary, that you let one person go, but you punished my kid, or capricious, you gave more than the handbook said that you could give. You know, all districts have a handbook, a code of conduct that outlines the parameters for the discipline for a specific incident, and that, you know, that you gave too much for that. If you're in my class, you get to hear my famous story about Booger, the fellow that looked like Booger from Revenge of the Nerds. He was a young kid just out of law school that came and tried and had a represented the kid before me in a hearing. You'll get to hear the story of Booger. He said that the school was being capricious for suspending his client for 10 days and recommending an exclusion. He brought 2 knives to school and threatened people with him. According to the handbook, he can only be given 5 days, and I had to point out that we were in a high school and he was reading the elementary code of conduct. Booger was not very seasoned. And so that didn't go well for his client. But he was worth what he was being paid, I'm guessing, I think he was doing, you know, I don't know, he was doing his pro bono work for his license. So, but anyway, that's what you're going to hear. And that's what I want you to hear from people who process discipline every day, is they're trying to provide the actual procedural due process that they're charged with legally, so that they don't get hit with an arbitrary or capricious complaint. That and restorative justice. We're very interested in not just punishing kids because we can, but hopefully do give them consequences that help them do better in the future, that we're not just being punitive. So those are the kinds of things that I hope you hear from an assistant principal about discipline. I hope you don't hear things like, it's just a pain in the neck. I just do it because I have to. I just run them through like cattle as quick as I can. No, we hope that you learn that it takes time and effort and skill to do it, and communication, and you need to have all stakeholders involved, and you need to be aware of your own biases. You need to chart yourself in terms of what you do. You need to be self-aware of your own biases, and that you know, that every time a gender or a race or whatever, that we see the incident, not the kid. So that we take our own biases out of it, and we understand that the reason why we're doing due process discipline is for restorative justice. We're trying to get kids to do better. So those are the kinds of things that you'll be doing.
And Megan, if you weren't in a virtual school, what school would you be in? That may be something that you can think about. If you were not doing virtually, where would you be? And that you possibly would work with that school. That would be a suggestion from me.
Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Lamb,
Yes.
we do not have an assistant principal, so should I just
Talk to your principal.
Okay,
Or
for
talk to
both?
one
That's
you know.
okay to use them for both?
Sure.
Okay, and then I am the interventionist and the chair of the MTSS team.
Good for you. You can lead class that night. Maybe you'll be in my section. I'll just turn it over to you.
So who then would I just like reach out to interview, like maybe another?
You can
MTSS
interview
person?
you can talk with one of your colleagues, and
Okay,
y'all can just have you can just have a conversation.
okay,
You can just have a conversation. What I really want folks who don't know what intervention is, I want them to know the intervention is more than just RTI. That's one of the tools that you use. I need for them to understand MTSS, multi-tier system of support. I need for them to understand the 90 before the 90. I need for them, that we go through 3 tiers before we get to the official 90 days when the kid's been recommended. What those tiers look like, what our legal response and requirement is. I need for them to know those kinds of things. You already know that stuff. I'm guessing your district is already at the full 90 before the 90, but a lot of districts aren't. They were supposed to be that way by last July, but They claimed COVID, but they weren't going to be there anyway. You know, some of them are stuck at the 30 before the 90. You know that for all of you, when a child is referred for, you know, for EC testing, there's a 90-day process, a federal 90-day process that has to occur, 30 days of anecdotals, 30 days of the first intervention, 30 days of either that, more of that intervention or a new intervention, and only at the end of 90 days can you test a kid for exceptional children. Well, North Carolina and South Carolina are doing MTSS, where we're doing up to 90, before that 90 of layered interventions, response to intervention, the program, you know, reteaching, those kinds of things, and several other programs, 3D reading, different things that we're doing to try to get kids support before they get to the official 90. And so that in the end, they get up to 180 days, because what we're trying to do is not place so many kids in exceptional children's programs. And especially now that we're doing the inclusion model, where we're just sending teachers out to the room. Now, nobody said that that was a better delivery system. What they said was it's a cheaper delivery system, and it meets the letter of the law. And so now that we're not providing as much service, we have to figure out a way to get our numbers down. Well, why not get some intervention to kids before, you know, before they fail? Now, we have to be careful and not use the R word. It's a really bad word, which is remediation. Nobody wants, you know, we don't use that R word anymore. That's kind of like the other R word we don't use anymore. And so, because they kind of go together. And so we have to figure out a way, and through MTSS, we have to kind of figure out a way to stem some of those numbers of kids being placed in exceptional children's programs. Well, if we can get them some support up front before they fail, rather than trying to remediate them after they fail, that's a much better system. And so that's, Elizabeth, what we're trying to do is get everybody to know what you know. Because understanding that if something goes wrong in your exceptional children's program, you do have a little buffer. You have either an EC chair and or a compliance technician that's supposed to keep up with your head count and make sure everything's good. The problem with intervention teams is they're called school-based committees. They're recognized as SBCs. That means if they go wrong, it's going to be the administrative team, the principal, that takes that hit. And so, you know, something goes wrong with that, just like, you know, in 2014, 11 principals in Charlotte-Mecklenburg got removed the week before school started because they were, you know, kids were being referred one week and tested for EC the next, and it was racially identifiable. It was all African-American males. You know, those folks at the Office of Civil Rights in Washington, they have no sense of humor. My best stuff is just wasted on them, I can tell you. Not a grin or a giggle. And when you do something to make them mad, like, you know, referring a black male one week and testing him the next for EC, they get kind of upset about that. And they demand money back, and they want blood. So you have to learn how to avoid those things, and you have to understand that you as principal, you as the leadership team in the school, you're responsible for SBC, school-based committees, and that would be your intervention group, whether you call it your care team or your intervention team or whatever name. Elizabeth, what's the name of your group?
Or at school?
Yeah.
We're just at the MTSS team.
You're just the MTSS team. You
Yeah.
know, so you have every school has an intervention team. It may not be called, it may be called MTSS, it may be called intervention team, it may be called care team. You have a team that takes referrals on kids who are having academic and social problems, and that team works and sets a plan to work with those children for up to 90 days, according to what's funded in your district, from 30 to 90 days prior to them entering into the official EC process, the 90 days that leads up to a testing decision. Every school has one. And so you need to find out all about that. Some of you serve on them, just like Elizabeth is the MTSS. We have a lot of folks in this program who work in MTSS. And so you need to learn about that one. That's a biggie. EC and intervention are a biggie. We do a whole module on that. We do a case study that comes out of that as well. That's the one. That is the one. Well, I see the time is 8 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dr. Lamb. And again, we wanted to give you a heads up on things, and you may hear some of this again on Monday night when we have our town hall. That will be basically that will be our last time together as 601, unless you need Dr. Revis and me for anything. Dr. Revis, anything you'd like to say in closing?
No, just other than if you need any support on your folio, just reach out to me. I'll be glad to do whatever I can do to support you in that. Just work smart, okay? And I also want to say I hope you have a good, restful Thanksgiving as you
Exactly.
have a lot of work to do and can get started on during your downtime, whenever that is. But we all have a lot to be thankful for. So take some time and pause and be thankful.
And I do want to say this, Dr. Revis wouldn't say it. I talked with her about her husband, Ken, today. And if things continue moving as they're moving, she will be able to bring him home, hopefully by next Friday. So we're so thankful.
Right.
Yeah, I think we have a lot to be thankful for.
Yes.
Sounds good. All right.
Dr. Lamb, thank you so much.
All right.
Class, thank you for being with us tonight.
Dr. Stebbin, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Okay, so when if we're uploading like an evidence of participating